mindful of everybody's time, so I want to get started right on time. It just turned 6 o'clock. We are live streaming this session as well, so it will be posted after, and our BudCom wants to live stream their meeting, so we're going to make it through here in enough time for that to happen. Thank you so much for coming tonight. We are here to give information to all of you about what is going on here at HPS. We'd like to tell the story of how enrollment has been affecting us in our building. Before we get into that, we want to, part of this came out of our enrollment committee, and we have a few members here tonight that I just would like to introduce. First of all, School Board Representative Andy Pasquale. Amy Kellner is parent representative. Julia Pozorski is another parent representative. We have Mike Levitt, who is from the BudCom committee representing. Stephanie Sayre in the back there is one of our, the Hollis senior secretary here. Do I have any other committee members here? I think that's it today. I'm Paula Isbicki, and I'm the principal here at Hollis Primary School. The plan tonight is to give you sort of a history, where we were, where we are now, some things that have changed that have made enrollment a little bit tricky down here, talk to you about all the possibilities and all the things that we've talked about and the changes that we've made thus far to deal with what we're dealing with. We are going to do a quick Q&A. I'm going to be keeping track of time. So we would like to hear questions. If you have any questions, if you could maybe just hold on to them till the end of the presentation, we will make sure that we get to your questions as much as possible. And then we're going to offer up a tour at the end so you can actually see the spaces that we're talking about. If you can't stay that long or be at the tour at the end, I have done a little bit of prepping at the beginning to let everybody get their bearings. So first of all, just to get our bearings so you have an idea of what we are talking about or what I am talking about as I go through this. This is, as some of you may have heard, last year we took away our Learning Commons and moved it down over here to this classroom. We needed classrooms to fit our enrollment this year, so we took the Learning Commons, which was 3 classrooms wide, and we moved it down here. Downsized, moved it down here, and we made 3 new first grade classrooms. So as you were walking down the hall, we left all the doors open. Hopefully you peeked in. They're beautiful new classrooms. They're all filled up with children and happy every day. So that is one of the first grade classrooms that we'll be talking about. We have our new library space, our new Learning Commons / library space that we have downsized to, which is right over here. One of the things that we're going to be talking about, I took a picture over here. This is a shared sort of office space for our librarian and our technology integrator. There is no space for her to have a separate office or anything like that, so they share that space there in the library. This is our occupational therapy classroom. This is a service that we need to provide kids. We just wanted to show you a little bit about what's going in that room. There are certain things that we have to provide, and there's just a picture of a few things in there. This area over here is where we had to store our guided reading library, which we can no longer house in the Learning Commons over here in the library because we don't have the space. I do see a few parent volunteers who came and helped us move that, so thank you very much for doing that. But that is our new guided reading space, which is in that occupational therapy room. This is our staff room. It's a classroom space. I wish I could use it for a classroom, but I can't. Over here, you can see these wooden stairs that we put up against the wall. That is our second egress to that room. We don't have another door to that room, so if we ever had to get out the room another way and we couldn't go out the door safety-wise, that's our second egress there, which is why children are not allowed in that space, but we use it as a staff room. This is our music room. She has a classroom upstairs where she stores all her equipment as well. As you know, it's not easy to teach music out of a book or a piece of paper, so she has lots of equipment. Up over here, you can see our storage is getting really high. That's what we have to do. We don't have any extra storage or closets to put things in. This right here is our stage. Part of that is in her classroom and part of that is out in the hallway. Again, you'll hear storage is an issue. What you're in right now is our gymnasium. And this is just a picture of our Veterans Day ceremony, which I love. Our third graders are performing, which means they're up on stage. All the rest of the kids in the building are invited, which makes it packed. What is unfortunate is that we have enough space for our veterans, but we cannot invite any families to see this because we don't have enough space, nor do we have the capacity in here to hold all of those people. We're just not allowed to safety-wise. The other thing about this is you may say, okay, well, you do it this way. We've had things both ways. We've had them this way. We've had them the long way. Our gym is also our cafeteria. So when scheduling for the day, I have to make sure I schedule things around lunches. So now we have 4 grade levels here: kindergarten, first grade, second grade, third grade. They all have lunches. I can't combine lunches. It's too many students to have in here, so we have to have 4 lunches throughout the day. It's 2 hours out of the day that's sort of taken away from when I can have my PE class. Of course, we do PE outside as much as often as we can. Obviously, on days like today, we can't. This is our pre-K class, so you're going to learn a little bit about pre-K and how that has grown over the years. Right down here in this hallway, we used to have our kindergarten class last year. After adding on the classrooms, we revamped where everybody was. We looked at everything differently. And we needed an extra pre-K classroom, so we don't have a classroom for that. So we have a makeshift one in the hallway over here. That's where our AM pre-K kids go. A lot of you are wondering how HPS has grown over the years. So all of those pictures are all the things I'm going to talk about, if you can kind of keep them fresh in your head. We want to talk to you a little bit about how we have grown. And we have grown not only in numbers, but we have also grown in programming. And I think that's really important for everybody to understand. If you take a look at our history in numbers, we chose 10 years to give us a good idea, a good chunk of time of how we have grown. And that's pretty much the whole time that I've been here. I've been here for about 12 years now, so our enrollment has been increasing since I got here. 2014, we had 352. We are currently now at 392 students. Classrooms K-3, I didn't include pre-K in this. We'll talk about that on the other side. But in 2014, we started with 19, and in 2024, we have 22, which is the addition of the 3 classrooms that we're looking at down the hall in first grade. Our staffing, this is a nuanced number, so I just want you to understand the numbers a little bit. Not all staff are full-time, so that's why we have the percentages there, or the decimal points. So we are at about 68 in 2014. Currently, we are at 78 staff members. This also doesn't include positions that were not filled, which means that if we have paraprofessional positions opening, teacher openings, any kind of opening like that, from custodial to OT to contractual staff, like, what am I thinking of? School psych, thank you, that's exactly what I was thinking of. Those are not shown there. So our number would be greater if we had everything all lined up and together. One thing I wanted to take a little time to talk about was our program increases. So quite a few years ago, we moved to full-day kindergarten. We had 2 classrooms for the half-day kindergarten. They were 2 sessions, AM and PM, so we basically had 4 classes in 2 classrooms. We moved to full-day kindergarten, and now we have 5 full-day classrooms that we filled up, and that happened pretty much the next year after we went to full-day. I believe we had 1 year of 4 and then right to 5. Our preschool program is a program that is grown over the years as well. We had one classroom that had an AM and a PM class. We now have 2 AM classes and 1 PM class. And we also have a preschool intensive needs program, which requires another classroom as well. So we have grown 2 classrooms in preschool. Intensive needs for kindergarten and to 3rd grade, which is a separate program which requires a separate classroom, is an additional classroom that we needed as well. I just wanted to note here that due to confidentiality purposes, these classrooms are not typically noted on board reports if you look back on enrollment for that reason. There are some nuances in our old building that you may not be aware of, which is a struggle to jump around all the time to try to figure out how we're going to do this every year. And every year it's been okay, what are we going to do this year to make it work? What are we going to do this year to make it work? And it's been sort of like a frog in boiling water. You know, we're kind of treading along okay, and before I know it, the temperature is really up, and we're kind of ready to jump out of it. What I need you all to be aware of is that pre-K, kindergarten, and 1st grade, any classroom must have direct egresses going outside. So as we tour the rest of the building, or as you came down and you saw the split in the middle of our building, we have 2nd grade downstairs and 3rd grade on the top floor. Those 2 floors, I cannot put kindergarten, 1st grade, or pre-K students on those floors because by code, I am not allowed to. That is not safe. So most of our increases have been in preschool and in 1st grade, and trying to get the classrooms on this surface has been a real big struggle. The other thing just to note is you all saw that staff room egress that is not safe or doable. Again, it's a classroom. I can't put students in there. We will go upstairs and downstairs, but you will see even there's just a little incline. Even if there's just a little incline, I've had fire department in here trying to see if we can work something out to make it happen, but we can't. The other thing to note is that classroom sizes are all different because, of course, wouldn't it be easy just to increase class sizes and to divvy out the kids that way? All of our classroom sizes in this building are different in one way or another, a little bigger in one, a little smaller in the other. So you can't fit equally the same amount. It's about 50 square feet. The DOE requires 50 square feet per student, and our biggest classroom size allows us about 19 to 20 kids. And that's one classroom that's really big. Because it's over there and it just was a build on and add on at some point that made it bigger. Another thing to note here is that we have done a lot in this building. We have increased we have done some bathroom renovations and stuff, and some of those renovations have pushed into the classroom, which have taken away some classroom space, which means when we revamp what the actual class sizes are, when you measure them out, they are a little bit smaller. What have the enrollment increases done to our building? So as a result, scheduling is a nightmare. As I told you, our schedule pretty much runs around this room right here. We have 4 lunches that need to happen, and we have 4 specialist times with PE that have to happen in here at this time. That limits when kids are available for pull-out services. It limits the time when kids are available for even regular ed services that we give students. If you've driven by here in the morning or in the afternoon, I'm pretty sure you've been caught in our traffic. We do a great job, I think, so far, trying to move them along and get things going. We have everybody on a pretty good routine. It's taken us a long time to get here, but it is still an issue. We have 10 buses that come in here in the front. I don't know how many you have or know of a kindergartner, but it takes them a little while to get from point A to point B. And then we have about 160 cars that go in and out of carpool every day in the morning and in the afternoon, and we do split them up on this side of the building and in the back of the building as well. Safety has been an issue. Again, a lot of things come from the state that come down about our safety. If you recall back when I showed you the picture of the music room, you saw everything stored up above. We really shouldn't be doing that, but we truly have no other place to put it. We don't have closets. Those are now offices. We are trying to purchase closets for teachers to have those cabinets, but we can only purchase so much each year. And then we have to disperse them amongst everybody to make sure that we have that space. Our learning commons, you know, it was, I know it bothered a lot of people. It bothered us too. We tried to make it, our learning commons was just really amazing. We had the opportunity to really pull kids and address kids who were excelling and be able to do that small group. We were able to do chess groups. We were able to do all these amazing academic things, support kids, robotics, all these really awesome things. We just don't have the space to do that anymore. So we have a very creative technology integrated teacher who is still working very hard to make sure kids have access to that, but it's hard. We have limited access to these classrooms on this main floor, as I told you. So when I'm looking to do preschool, I can't put them in that staff room. I tried one year and I got in trouble for it. There's always something that sort of stops me from being able to do things the way they should be done. We don't have a lot of people here today, but we do invite parents in for activities during the day, and you're lucky to get a parking spot. You're actually lucky to get a parking spot even if you work here. Our parking is awful. If you ask any staff member, it's really hard to just find a parking spot in the morning to make sure that you can get here. Our subs often get confused or don't know, aren't able to figure out even how to get in because they don't even know where to park. It's safety sometimes because they just there's no parking and they're trying to find parking, or they'll park in a space that's not acceptable. We have combined offices or lack of appropriate office space. I share an office. I have shared an office for many years. I have moved my office almost every single year I've been here. Everybody has, there's very few people who have a single office, and we really had to prioritize who those people were due to confidentiality. Even people that we would love to see have spaces that are their own, they still don't have them because we just don't have the space. For example, our case managers who work with our special education students. What ideas have we had? Well, when we started this enrollment committee, we pretty much threw everything on the table. So what have we done? I can say it again, we've relocated the learning commons, we created those classrooms that we needed. I mean, we have exhausted all usable space. We have taken away closets to make them offices. We have combined service spaces. We have combined office spaces. We have converted at least 4 storage closets into offices, which is why our storage is now all over the place as well. And we created this enrollment committee. And with this enrollment committee, one of our first meetings was throwing everything on the table. What can we do? How can we make this work? What are we going to do with what we have? We talked about moving 3rd grade up to Hughes and making this a pre-K to 2 building and seeing how that would work. Again, accommodating kids in both spaces wasn't going to work. We talked about switching buildings, complete buildings with Hughes students and HPS students to see if that could work. We looked at the cost of portables and how that would look. Could we do pre-K out in the portables? Could we do kindergarten out in portables? Could we do 3rd grade out in portables? Could we put somebody up in portables up at Hughes while moving 3rd grade up to Hughes? We talked about reorganization and trying to figure out how we could do that. I mean, just touring every single space we can and looking at it together. And I mean, I threw it on them and say, if you see something I don't, please, 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 please tell me where I can find space. And then we talked about moving programs to Hughes, but sometimes there's a lack of being able to do that based on what the program must provide for students, and sometimes being in a different building doesn't provide the grade level need that it has to have in it in order to be an approved program. We have a list and all the reasons, the pros and the cons, and why we can or can't on our enrollment committee page. It is located, we have a link on this, and it is on the SAU website. So if you are interested in looking and seeing, there's pages and pages of ideas that we went through. So what's this warrant article? What are the next steps? Andy Pasquale is going to talk a little bit about the warrant article and the next steps. She is from the Budget Committee. You press down to go to the next slide.
Okay. All right, so first, thank you to Ms. Isbicki for giving us this very thorough overview of what she and her very dedicated staff have been going through and how they've been navigating all the obstacles that she outlined for you tonight. And thank you for coming out tonight. It's cold, and you're all busy, and you took some time to learn about something that's really important for our town, whether you have children here or not. What we're talking about here tonight impacts all of us, whether it's your commute to work, and you have to deal with the traffic on 122 during a pickup or drop-off, or if it's your pocketbook. This impacts you, and so thank you for taking the time to learn about this and be informed. So what do? We have these problems that Paula has outlined for us tonight. We have looked into a lot, and it seems like what we need to do is we need to add on and we need to renovate. So what would we hope? We would need to have 3 to 4 classrooms. So Paula talked about how over the past 10 years our enrollment increased about 40 students. According to NSDAQ projections, we're about to go up 45 over the next 5 years. And as you saw, if you add up all the programming changes that Paula outlined for you, we lost 7 classrooms due to programming changes. So we increased up to 40 students, and we lost 7 classrooms due to programming. That's a problem. That is why we have a pre-K in the hallway right now, and we no longer have our learning commons. What will come in the next 5 years? Well, 10 years ago, we didn't know we were going to lose 7 classrooms to programming. We don't know what mandates will come on us next. If children come into our schools and their IEPs require that they be in a classroom with 2 other students, we are mandated by law to follow that. So we need space. So 3 to 4 classrooms is what we would be hoping to add on. We would love to have a dedicated gymnasium. If you were to ever come in here, and we invited our budget committee to come, to see the dance that is tangoed every day here after 3rd grade lunch when the custodial team, all one of him, has to come in here and close up all of those bleachers that those kids sit on and clean this floor and get it dried and ready for PE. It is a miracle that this works every single day. We need a gymnasium that is separate from the cafeteria. We would love to have a dedicated library with its own storage so we don't have to keep books that kids need to access in walls in an OT room or lined up in an unsafe way, potentially. I mean, if anybody felt the earthquake the other day, you know, we don't want anything falling on children, do we? So we would love to do that with a flex space option. And what we mean by that is we were saved this year by the fact that we were able to put partitions in the learning commons. It was already set up when that room was put together to have 3 doors. So separating that room was possible, and we were able to solve that problem. We want to think ahead. We want to be smart in the way that we design anything going forward. When we put in a new library, hopefully, we would be thinking in that same way, that if there ended up being a crunch, a quick boom, a sudden increase, that we could accommodate that while we figure out the next steps. And we would love to have a dedicated music room with storage. If you are able to go on the tour tonight, the picture really doesn't do it justice, what Ms. Cormier is doing with our kids. She is doing the best in a very unideal situation. And even just think about it, if you're a little kid and you're there and you're having music class, which is a super happy time, and you're moving and you're loud and you're excited and the walls are full of stuff, it shouldn't be that way. It should be clear. There should be posters. It should be inviting. We don't have that. So potential renovations. One of the things that we've talked about is relocating the front office. How many of us went to the wrong door tonight? Right? So they're off to the side. When you exit today or on your tour, you're going to see that from the end of this this cafe gymnasium to our conference room, there's a huge wasted space. We would like to eliminate that wasted space. We would like to renovate what is now the front office, turn that into classrooms, bring the front office over here, and we'd have a more centralized front office for people coming in, because if we expand this parking lot the way that we hope to, and that would be marrying the parking lot of Lund Lane, where the SAU building is, 2 hours, providing more parking and hopefully better traffic flow, then we would have a more centralized front office. And the open wing, that pre-K, that room where we have the pre-Ks right now, it's not a room, it's a hallway that we turned into a room. We would like to turn that into actual rooms with a hallway to not have to conduct classroom out in the open. So those are the kinds of things that we have been talking about. We have been consulting with an architect to see, well, what could we possibly do with the footprint of our school in the surrounding area. However, before we can do those things, oops, wrong one. Okay, we have the warrant article that we're bringing before you in March. And what we get with that warrant article? Well, we have this funny number of $164,400. And where did that come from? Well, we consulted with a civil engineering firm and a firm that will also potentially be doing our traffic study, and with an architectural firm on what it might cost. They submitted their proposals, and those proposals are available on our enrollment committee website to give us an idea of what it would cost to do the site assessments necessary to know what is possible with the land that's right here. For example, we have a field out here. As you come in, after you park, you think, well, why can't we build here? Well, there's a septic system there. We can't build there. But we could relocate a playground there, for example. That is allowable. These are all things that a civic engineer needs to analyze for us and help us figure out. So that amount of money will give us that assessment. It involves pre-design, design, the soil wetlands analysis. If we marry those two parking lots, as I referred to earlier, that crosses over a stream. We have wetlands back there. That all needs to be permitted, and so we don't even know if that vision can be realized. We need to figure out traffic, so a traffic study needs to happen. We need to see where the survey of our land and the boundaries. We would love to dump some traffic onto 130 and alleviate 122 some, but the proper avenues need to be sought first to find out whether or not that's possible, and if it is, the permitting to take place. We have to correspond with the New Hampshire Department of Transportation because those are state routes. That would also include the pre-design and the design services, and of course consulting with a construction manager. That is what we hope that amount of money will cover for us, so that a year from now we could come to you with some concrete options. We don't want to just come and say, hey, this is the price tag, we ask you to pay it. What we are hoping, Ms. Vicki and I have talked about this quite a bit, and with the enrollment committee, we would like it to be a conversation with the town. We hope that a year from now we can have a meeting similar to what we're doing now, but more of a town hall style, and say, here are some options. And they have different price tags. And what do we as a town, as a community, as parents, grandparents, residents, taxpayers, what do we want for our children? What are we willing to pay? So we hope that it will be a conversation, and as we get that input, what we put before the town will be good for our children, for the staff, and for you, the residents. And me too. I'm a taxpayer also. So what you can expect from us in the enrollment committee, number one, is transparency. We have tried our best to be as open and as clear with the community as possible, but it's hard. It's hard to communicate, and so that's what tonight is all about. If you go onto our page, you will see that every single meeting we have had is posted, and all the meetings that are currently scheduled. Those are open to the public. You can come. All of our agendas are posted. Some meticulous minutes Ms. Sayer takes for us that all of us in the committee then review and approve before they are posted. Our proposals, our discussions, and of course our contact information for Ms. Zbicki, the principal, for myself as the chair of the committee, and for our superintendent, Andrew Corey, and Superintendent-elect Gina Berksog. And so stay informed. Please attend these things. I'm going to be giving a slightly different version of this presentation before the Budget Committee on February 11th at 6:30. That's our public hearing. Just so you know, this is coming within the context of a lot that's coming before the town this year. There is a public hearing on the 10th for what the town is bringing forth. Your voice matters. Your attendance matters. Being informed matters, because it's not just this information isn't just sitting with you tonight. You're going to disseminate this information to your family, to your friends, to your neighbors. Really hope you do. You should consider coming to this public hearing. You should come to the town public hearing on the 10th, and please come and vote. We are a small town, and it is a minority of us that end up making the decisions for this town, because not everyone goes to the town meetings and votes. And I say that without judgment. Everybody is busy. Babysitting is provided because we know we all got, we have things going on. But it makes a difference. It makes a big difference. So please come and be a part of that conversation and let your voice be heard. Of course, you can go to our website. Mrs. Bickey took a snapshot of it here, but all you have to do, if you just want to Google SAU 41 Enrollment Committee, we pop right up. But when this presentation is posted, you'll also be able to click links. You'll be able to find this. I'll make sure that you're able to find this on Board Docs and on our Enrollment Committee page. There's our school website. And at every single board meeting, if you don't want to double dip, if you get excited every Wednesday, first Wednesday of the month, to see our school board meetings live stream, you will see that I give a report every month to the board about what's happening with the Enrollment Committee. So you also could pay attention there and then just read the minutes of the Enrollment Committee if you find you want more detail. So that brings to the end, and I think we are ready for some questions and answers.
10 minutes, but we have to catch up to go. So we have about 10 minutes for questions. If anybody has any questions, I would just repeat the question into the microphone so people at home can hear, and then we're happy to answer any questions that anybody might have about our presentation tonight. Yes.
I have two questions. One is about the enrollment number.
Yep.
Was it expected increase, or do you know the reason why it's been increasing? And then you are expecting more increase in a couple of years or in the future, even though you will be losing as many students
Correct.
you would receive until you graduate.
Correct.
So that's one question, you know, the reason of the increase and what if you're expecting more. Second question is about the budget you are requesting. Who are you requesting from? I just don't know the system, so
Sure.
I'm curious about where you would expect it to come from.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. Do you want to repeat the question? Sure. Go ahead.
Okay, so I'll go with the first question, and then I'll just make sure that I get the second one right. So the question was regarding how we get our enrollment numbers. So the state prepares projections for towns every year, and so there's a projection report that we receive. Now those change from year to year because it's very difficult to predict changes in town population and in enrollment. So anybody who lives here, all you need to do is look around, and you've been seeing stuff going up left and right? And we know that we have more building up on the horizon. So, Racine has bought a huge property on Proctor Hill. There's going to be building there. So we don't know what to expect. We have been consulting with the planning board. Mike Levitt here, who's on the BudCom, he's also on the planning board. He helps advise us, so we really appreciate that he's been on the enrollment committee. We've met with the town planner. We are trying to get a good idea, and we're also working with the consultant that the town hires to give, consulting on the impacts of increased population for the town, to try and help us figure out what to expect, but it really is unpredictable. So we're going by those projection numbers and just by what we see, and we're kind of, as Mrs. Bickey has said so many times, we're kind of already there. You know, we're at the limit.
Can I just add one thing to
Please.
that? So we were projected to increase our enrollment, but we exceeded that over the past few years. So it's a surprise to me and everybody that we increased so much. I think we are, quite frankly, an attractive community and an attractive school, and I'm pretty proud of that, but I want to continue to keep it that way. Because I think we do a great job here. So it was predicted, so I'm assuming that the numbers that we got were pretty reliable in the past. I'm assuming that they'll be reliable in the future. I am not a numbers expert or a projection expert, but that's what they're telling us.
And as far as who we're asking the money from, every year, warrant articles are put before the town, as is the budget for the town and for the Hollis School District and the cooperative. The co-op, the Hollis Brookline School District, also puts their operating budget before the town. This is an addendum to that. The warrant articles are for specific projects, so the town has warrant articles for some of the projects that they're putting forth, and the school districts do as well. So this warrant article that we are asking the town to vote on is separate from the operating budget of the Hollis School District in general. At that meeting on March 12th, you as a town will be voting for the operating budget or against it. We have a history of supporting the operating budget, and the warrant articles come after that or in addition to that. So does that answer your question?
Yes, and may I add,
Please.
with that, of course, I'm always concerned about increase
Absolutely.
as a taxpayer. It seems that the assessment of the property have increased, most likely the revenue of the town, I'm guessing. I don't know if that can be, this request that can be allocated from whatever the budget revenue that I have.
This can only be funded by a vote from the town. That's the only way it can be funded.
Does the town already have some money, extra money that can?
You know, I understand that because I'm sure you're thinking like, oh, these people are moving in and they're paying more taxes. I completely understand that perspective. It costs a lot to educate kids. I think on average in New Hampshire, it's about $21,000 per child. Now we're less than that here in Hollis, but it's around the $20,000 a kid mark, and I don't think that everybody is paying much more than $20,000, you know, in taxes. And if you have multiple kids in one house, you see how it kind of gets it. But that's just the operating budget. This warrant article, actually this year, I mean, you wouldn't really feel it this year in your taxes at $164,400. It's really what we're going to be asking for next year. And the purpose of this information session is we don't want to surprise anybody next year. We want you to know what's going on, and we also want you to know that we're working really hard to be fiscally responsible, to explore all options, and to involve the town in the process. We do not want to be working in a silo. That is a big conversation. But also, I don't know how much that would help us here in the Hollis School District, because with the K3, the pre-K3, we aren't sharing any space. That sounds great. It is very complicated. And I can't get into that tonight to completely explain that, but I think that maybe attending some co-op meetings would help with that, and you have the superintendent right over there. I'm going to throw him under the bus here. I highly recommend you ask that gentleman about that, but that would be a huge endeavor. That would, it would, yes, because they would have to be approved of by both Hollis Town residents, Brookline Town's residents. We can't just kick them out. They don't have schools to send their kids to. They'd have to build somewhere. It's just be a rippling effect. Not saying it's never possible, but it wouldn't be something that would be solved that way in time to address the issues that are really present right now. And tonight's really about letting everyone know it's that we're not trying to fix a problem we think is going to happen. We got a problem now. And I really hope you stay for the tour to see it yourselves. There. So maybe in the back and... That's great. Yeah, they're going to be looking at all the land that the Hollis School District owns, and so that does include Hughes, because obviously they're also going to be part of the traffic study and the dumping. But right now, as far as the situation at Hughes, it's a bigger school. The classrooms are bigger, and because the children are older, they're able to have larger class sizes by guidance and by regulation as far as like the quality of their education. So they're in a good situation. We invited the principal to our meetings and had those conversations with her. So at this time, we don't have to worry about, they've also already had a few renovations over the years. So they are doing a little better there. Sir?
Yeah, I just had a question related to enrollment.
Yes, sir.
I wondered what, if you know, I don't know if you know this or not, what impact education freedom accounts have had on enrollment in town, that students who might not be going to school, and perhaps is that in your thinking as you look at enrollment in the future?
That's a great question. So the question was about whether or not we know the impact of education freedom accounts and students attending other schools. That is data we do not have available to us. Maybe that's something we could try to explore, but I don't know how much that would impact the situation we have now because, like I said, we're kind of already here.
No, I just wondered. Yeah, okay.
Yes, sure.
Am I speaking correctly, Andy, when I say people do want to come here, but we say no because we don't have the space? Yes, we have a lot of tuition requests that we have to turn down. So just for people streaming, the Freedom accounts haven't really impacted anything, but we have had people want a tuition in that we've had to say no to. I don't know, I feel like there was somebody over here.
So there are no children's tuition into the Hollis primary or is that correct?
No, we do have students that are tuitioned in, but we have also have people have asked and we've had to say no. I mean, our preschool is tuitioned. Half of our preschool tuitions in. We receive tuitions from special requests that is accepted by the school board and the superintendent. So that they make those decisions. It's I would say less than. It's not even double digits.
So beyond the pre-K, you have children who are tuition
Yeah.
Some children
Yeah.
of
It's-
staff members who tuition in, and that allows us to potentially not lose teachers. To bring the child to school every day, you're more likely to stay here. And if you have children or have children go through here, you know it's a quality staff.
And
So we're required to provide preschool for certain students, and then we are then required to invite children in, and those that we invite tuition in.
But those are primarily overwhelmingly Hollis residents.
Oh, yeah, Hollis residents for sure, and we have a wait list. Yeah. And it's pages, yeah. Should the planning board be taking into consideration that? That's not us, but, yeah.
Your town planning board does an exceptional job. If there's a new development coming in, they notify me, we have discussions, but at the same time, the planning board has their process, which is a thorough, very thorough process, and they always are kind of giving us kind of a heads up. One of the big reasons that we're seeing this is because we've had two issues. One, you have the new homes, which we all see popping up everywhere. But two, we've also seen the wave of people in my age group who are retiring and selling their big homes to families with 3 or 4 children. The biggest difference over my decade here is when I first started, we had families move in, and they primarily had older children because it was usually their second or third home. What we've seen most recently is the oldest is in kindergarten or first grade. And if you go by, you'll see plenty of strollers, and there's more on the way. Families are really making the conscious decision to select this community. So that's really what's driving. And I see it as a superintendent, but at the same time, it's that double-edged sword. We have good schools, so people want to be here. Because people want to be here, we have baseball. New homes have really been planned well. There have been a lot of permits issued over the years, but as you all realize, the economy is very good for home building right now. So a lot of those permits that might have been pulled 5 years ago are going up now.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't go up when the economy was down because the profit margin
Yep.
was there for the building.
Yep.
So that's why all of a sudden we're seeing that explosion. But please, understand that your planning board goes through a process. We talk about bus stops, bus turnarounds, you name it, they ask about it.
We do have to get moving on to the tour so that everybody can get done. So can I take one more question here?
Yeah, I'm going to say, I've got a couple of comments. And
Sure.
Questions. So in terms of, I had 3 children went to HSD, Martin, and my
Yeah.
son, unfortunately, broke a leg, and he survived fine in a wheelchair for 6 months. So
Yep.
as a footnote, class size growth, 40 kids increase over 10 years. That's, basically, that's 11%. That's only 1% per year. It's not
Right.
growth. I mean, talk about the houses. The average house price in Hollis is now close to just over $1 million they're building. These are not young kids coming in.
Mhm.
It's retirees. It's people coming from Rhode Island, Connecticut, New York, New Jersey, and their kids are post-college. They're now living the good life. In terms of the traffic, I've lived here 27 years. Yes, when the classrooms get, the beginning end of this class day, it's a little bit congested. But a lot of us that used to commute daily to Boston on Route 3 and 93, it's all relative.
Mm-hmm.
I used to live in Chelmsford. That was a nightmare.
Yeah.
This is a piece of cake. It's all relative.
Yep.
I know you talk about the traffic situation. So the question I have is, you must have a rough idea what the price tag is. And before you answer it, 86% of our taxes goes to the school district. The last
70%.
decade, 20 years, the
70%.
taxes have been pretty constant. The last 2 years, they've gone up. They've skyrocketed.
Mhm.
20, 30, 35% increase.
Yeah.
Predominantly from the school district. So it's great that you justify, ideally, we like to have this, we like to have this resource. And that.
Yeah.
But if you put it into big context, those of us that love Hollis and want to stay here, there's only so much we can afford.
Right.
That's the reality.
Yeah.
So I know you can have this survey done and estimates and stuff. What's the rough idea you have on a price tag? For
Well, I'm not comfortable giving that because I haven't done that, but I do want to mention two things. Number one, just the reason why I put this slide up is because, yes, 40 children doesn't seem to be that much, but there are mandates that come down from the state that we have to do that requires class sizes. So one child could make us have to have a new classroom, and I can't do anything about that. I'm not going to change that. So when you say 40 kids, yes, if we could put as many kids as we could put into a classroom, that would be fine, but that just isn't the reality that we're living in, because there are enrollment isn't just about the numbers, it's about the programs that we have to provide students. So that is the reason for space. The second thing that I just wanted to address is that we have consistently received less and less money from the state, which is falling on taxpayers. I'm a taxpayer myself. That continues to happen. So yeah, it's every town besides Hollis is feeling it as well. So I can empathize with you.
No, you're right, because the state's pushing more and more into the towns. Probably federal's going to push more into the state. It's going to trickle down. So we know our tax is going to be going up. So we got to do, try and limit what that increase is. Otherwise, all, the people that love Hollis, it's just going to be a transient community like Weston and Chelmsford. People like Bedford almost. They move in, kids go to school, they graduate, they settle and move on. That's what, we don't want that for Hollis.
Well, I would like to address that, again, with the 40 students, and then we're gonna move on to either the tour or otherwise, it is also noteworthy, the number isn't, but we have lost 7 classrooms as we have gained those 40 students. And I think that's the key, 2 programming mandates. So that is the crunch that is felt here, is those 7 classrooms that have had to be occupied in other ways. Right now is, do you want to dismiss everyone? We will have 3 groups to tour. If you would like to tour, if you would like to stay, led by Ms. Sayer, myself, and Ms. Bickey. So I'll let Mrs. Bickey close.
Yep, so if you've seen everything and felt like you're good, you're welcome to head back out that way. If you want to stay, I just ask that you remain here for a few minutes. We'll split you up to groups, and everything we talked about today, we're just going to do a quick walkthrough. So we'll get that going. We'll give a few minutes for everybody to clear out.